Halloween can be a scary time of the year. Most of us love dressing up in our favourite Halloween costumes and watching scary movies. Horror movies, scary stories and haunted houses are all part of the Halloween fun. However, when the Halloween stories go from fantasy to true stories, that's when we start to panic. We found some of the creepiest real-life Halloween stories that describe both strange and disturbing events. These Halloween true murders, suicides and disappearances will send a shiver down your spine, not only because they actually happened during the time of Halloween, but also because some are yet to be explained or solved. These are 5 disturbing Halloween stories that actually happened. Number 5. The curious drowning of Chris Jenkins. During Halloween night in 2002, Chris Jenkins and his friends visited a party before heading out to a bar called the Lone Tree Bar and Grill to celebrate Halloween. Soon after arriving at the bar at 10:30 p.m, Chris Jenkins was removed from the bar after drinking too much and causing a scene. He was escorted out by security guards and banned from returning. This wouldn't have been a problem in warmer weather, but Jenkins was left outside in freezing temperatures, wearing nothing more than a costume of Native American attire. And without his wallet, cell phone or keys, which had obviously been left in the bar when he was thrown out. To make matters worse, the particular area around the Lone Tree Bar and Grill was riddled with crime. Chris Jenkins was never seen again. After his family hired a private investigator, a witness stated they saw a large group of men attacking a lone person across the street from where Jenkins was last seen. 2 police dogs were taken to the location where they tracked Jenkins' scent from the site of the attack to a creepy garage next door and found drops of blood and a single red feather. Investigators suspected that the feather was part of Jenkins' costume. Jenkins' body was found floating in the Mississippi River 4 months later, leading to his cause of death as either suicide or accidental drowning. However, further inquiries caused investigators to believe this was a homicide and not accidental drowning. To this day, Jenkins' death remains a mystery and is now a cold case. Number 4. The Candyman. Nicknamed the Candyman, Ronald Clark O'Brien murdered his son Timothy on Halloween in 1974. He had murdered his son with cyanide-laced candy, which he distributed to other children to attempt to cover up his crime. Fortunately, none of the other children ate the candy. O'Brien murdered his own son in order to claim $20,000 in life insurance. Shortly before the murder, he had taken out a $40,000 life insurance policy on his children, Timothy and Elizabeth. Elizabeth did not eat any of the tainted candy. O'Brien was executed on March 31st, 1984 by lethal injection. After this sickening crime, Halloween safety programs were implemented in Pasadena, teaching parents various methods for evaluating the safety of door-to-door treats by visual inspection. Number 3. David Stone searches for the beast. David Stone was a successful stock market analyst who was a big believer in the New Age movement as he sought spiritual guidance. According to Deputy Sheriff Bill Cavalier, the investigating officer, on Halloween of 1988, Stone had walked into the desert and was seen several times that day claiming that he was looking for the beast before vanishing in the desert. 5 days later, Stone's car was eventually found by police abandoned along Highway 80. However, Stone didn't just leave without a trace. Several clues were mysteriously found after his disappearance which connected it to the New Age movement. The first clue was that his car was found near pyramid-shaped mountains, and pyramids were important symbols in the movement. The search for Stone led investigators to his trail, which was headed northwest from his car, and searchers then found a pyramid of rocks surrounded by a triangle. The following day, David's watch was discovered next to another pyramid 3 miles to the north, and searchers found a Fibonacci sequence used by stock market analysts written in the sand. However, instead of 21 ending the sequence, the number ended in 18. Some believe that this was Stone trying to signal for help. Finally, bloodhounds tracked his scent to elsewhere on Highway 80, 30 miles north of where his car was found. While searching through Stone's car, bizarre items had been found, including a mysterious business card and an even stranger note that read, "They think the word is in the safe. 6 knives in Rob's room. Use buys your tea and use take your chances. Halloween." Halloween was the day that David Stone mysteriously vanished, and still nobody knows what happened to Stone or why he ventured out into the desert that day. 2 years later, in February 1992, 2 hikers found Stone's body, and there was no evidence of foul play in his death. Was he really in search of the beast, or had he just gone insane? Number 2. Grizzly Halloween decorations. Halloween decorations have become more elaborate and frightening compared with the usual grinning jack-o'-lantern and fake cobwebs. However, one Halloween in 2005, a 42-year-old woman from Frederica, Delaware, committed suicide. Her body was left hanging on a tree outside a home opposite a moderately busy road. Residents from the area assumed it was a scary Halloween decoration and passed by without a second thought. Her body was hanging on the tree for 3 hours before residents realised it was an actual body. State Police spokesman Corporal Jeff Oldham and neighbours said people noticed the body around 7:30 that morning but dismissed it as a holiday prank. Authorities arrived at the location at 11 o'clock to begin the process of examining the scene and removing the body. Similarly, in mid-October 2009, the decomposing body of a 75-year-old victim who had committed suicide with a single gunshot wound to one eye sat undisturbed on the balcony of a home in Marina del Rey, California for several days before neighbours assumed her corpse was merely part of a Halloween display. Number 1. The murders of Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman. During the early morning of Halloween 1981, Manhattan couple Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman were murdered at their apartment. Both had been severely beaten before being shot execution style in the head, and their apartment was completely ransacked. Some suspected that Ronald Sisman was involved in drugs due to the style of the beating and killing. However, if you look closely, the case of Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman takes an unexpected turn when a prison informant claimed that one of his fellow inmates had somehow predicted the crime weeks before it actually happened. This prison informant turned out to be the notorious murderer and arsonist son of Sam, David Berkowitz. Convicted of a series of shootings in 1977, there was always speculation that Berkowitz was involved in a satanic cult. According to the informant, Berkowitz had told him that this cult was planning to murder a couple on Halloween and that they would perform a ritual murder before ransacking the place to remove incriminating evidence. Berkowitz claimed that they chose to murder Ronald Sisman and his wife because he possessed snuff footage of one of the Son of Sam shootings and was planning to hand it over to the authorities to avoid some drug charges. While investigators could not find any evidence for this claim, Berkowitz's description of their apartment was eerily accurate. The murder case of Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman is still yet to be solved.